Okay, it's still Friday, but this is a follow-up. If you saw the video just prior to this, well, there you have it. This is that one juniper that I was picking up from this area. It looked like an accordion, I guess. It was more in a twisted or circular fashion. Well, I took the old wire off, rewired it with heavier gauge wire. The benefit of the previous wire is that it had been in the trunk already. This isn't an exceedingly thick trunk, but for what I really want to do, it's thick enough. And so I rewired it, set the branches in place, extended the coil or unwrapped the accordion, as it were, and brought it up, set the branches in place with wire, and this is what we have. There's lots of trimming to do, lots of tertiary and secondary work to do on the branches, and a lot of elimination to do. But I left the elimination for right now. Okay, as you can see, I've somewhat set the apex in a fixed position instead of having that continued growth of the growing tip. So it's been wired and laid over, and the subsequent branches have been splayed out. And I've left it this way so I could explain to you. If you want, you can just go back in here and pinch out the tips all around that to set your crown, okay? And you can have it mounded up, or you can have it flat depending on the way you pinch it and what you leave in the apex as far as branches go. The wire that's on here, and this is important, grasshopper, wire these branches loosely, okay? But remember, bend the wire, not the branches, okay? So where you bend the wire is how you're going to set the branches. And the branches will be probably shorter of where you want to set your branches. Why? Because the wire is loose around these branches. So be careful you don't break your branches, but don't try to bend the branches into place. You have to bend the wire to set your branches in place. So remember that. Bend the wire, grasshopper, not the branch. Now the wire on the trunk, okay, that's a normal wrap, okay? I'm not a rapper, but I did pretty good, didn't I? So anyway, these wires up here are relatively loose. Now this branch is by itself, it's in the open, it's relatively thick, okay? So that, you can wire it with normal procedures to put it in its place. But pretty much all these other branches, you want to wire them loosely. Why? Because this wire is fine wire. The plant starts growing and you're going to get girding in your branches, and you don't want to lose these branches. So if you're good at removing the wire, fine, but otherwise cut the wire off when it's time to remove them, and then rewire as you need. Now again, I've left a lot of superfluous branches. Superfluous, isn't that a marvelous word? I heard it somewhere, so I figured I'd just use it. I don't know what it means, but I've got these extra branches over here, unnecessary, unneeded branches. Wink, wink. So, we could trim these off like that. Oh, also, what I didn't show you or mention, like I've got double branches here. Double branches wired in place here. Double branch wired in place here. Don't be afraid to set your foliage pad using two branches. If they're close enough to one another, or even if you have to bring a branch back a little bit, not so obvious and obtrusive, but if the branch is in the same general area and you want to use it, use it. Why? The more foliage you have on here with the roots, and I have not cut these roots, but I have removed some branches already. So I've got lots of energy wanting to come up here and regrow this plant, okay? So it's okay to use double branches, and it's not a crime, it's not a shame, there's no issues with that. So stuff like this is not useful in the scheme of things. This right here, I don't need it. I see this branch here, I could make a little odd branch just hanging here, but don't need it. You see I left a stump so I could charrie that later on. Now these I want to leave because it's going to help gird up the or increase the girth on this trunk. Also, this larger branch, it cracked a little bit, okay, when I pulled it down and wired it out of the way. And that's extra good because now you get energy coming to this to heal that wound, and so the branch or the trunk is going to gird up a little bit more. I could leave this here just to leave a little odd branch here, and somebody would ask, well, why'd you leave that there? It shouldn't be there. Well, I'm going to take it out anyway. I don't need it. And I do use odd branches from time to time. See how that's looking now? Remember, this tree was squatty when I had it wired before, and as a matter of fact, it was wired with this wire right here. That's just regular electrical copper wire, unannealed, so it's pretty stout. Actually, it is stronger than this. This is a 6.0 that I have on here, and it's stronger than that, but it's thinner, and so I don't want it girding in there. Again, I could use that, just let it fill in right there. You know, I could even bring it from the bottom if I wanted to, just so it would fill in and make this look more substantial, but with the expectation of cutting it off later anyway. But I don't need that, and I'm demonstrating this to you right now. You can go in and cut out some of this stuff that's hanging down toward the bottom of your branches, and again, let the doctor take his surgical equipment off. I'm hearing owls around here just hooting away. So you can get up into the branches here and go in between the nodes and pinch out. Just pinch out in between, and that way you have less browning out, and you'll still have growth tips, because if you just buzz saw that off, then you damage more growth tips than you probably want, and you'd get a lot more browning out. So you just do this, and this will thicken up. And I should have wired that back, like put a bend in it. So that's the idea. This is the very tip of this as it was growing up, okay? And I've got this purple wire in here so you could see, but I took that very tip, kept it going that way, and that's toward the curve of the trunk, the base, so your direction is that way. And I brought that angle and I brought it back away from the movement of the trunk, and then I ended in that direction. So now any of this, as much of it as I want, I can trim out. And again, I'm going to wire that in place. And the sun was coming out, so it's like, well, I need to hurry up. And again, you just pinch this back in the top. Oh, there's a more wildlife coming through here. And you pinch these out also so they can thicken up. And depending on what you want, some people allow the lower branches out here to grow toward the bottom, and they flatten this out. So all of this would be shaved off, and this would grow here. And as these pads fill out, you can wire these down if you want and put a little incurved angle in them, or you could just let the pad, you know, ride like this. So whichever way you want. Your branches toward the back, you want a little bit of down growth to give depth and dimension to your artistic work. And of course, I've got the branches here that gives a little depth, but you don't really need these branches here because this is really your first branch and this is coming off. Okay, so it would still look okay to me if I cut this off, but they're there, it works, and I like it, so I'm leaving it. And again, I use 2 branches right here to fill that out. If one branch dies or gets damaged, I've got 2, well, I've got another. 2 minus 1 dead branch equals 1. I have 1 branch left, so, you know, I'm still good. Now, the proximity of these branches, one to the other, you'll have to assess whether or not you like the closeness of these branches. Generally speaking, you don't want to have a branch on the end curve of an arch, which I do here, but this represents the branches that are on the back side of that out curve right here, okay? And so I'm okay with this, but if these were to come off, again, I've got 2 branches to look at. If I don't want these, then I can eliminate that, and I've still got this branch right here, which I'll bring down. So you give yourselves options. The less experience you have, leave more branches. Put your plant away, come back tomorrow, next week, or whenever. Look at it again, think about what you want. There's no rush, okay? I mean, unless you're headed to a master class or a show and demonstration, you know, well, what are you going to do? Take your time, relax, enjoy it. And like this, the branch is coming from the arch angle on the outside, not the inside. The same here, but they're really close. But I have this branch more forward and going out, whereas that branch is back and going out. The sun can come in and they both get, you know, some sort of sunlight, okay? And of course, as you get toward the top of the tree, generally speaking, the branches are going up, but I'm making this tree look a little older than it would, so here I am in the crown, and that's why I've got these branches somewhat going upward instead of arching all of the way down, okay? So anyway, this is a follow-up on the on styling the Juniper, and this is what you could come up with if you take your time, follow the movement, and if you get one of these that you twisted up and made look to your satisfaction, use it as your template. Go back to it, look at it, and see what you did. Not every plant, well, every plant is unique, so you're not going to get 2 of them to look alike, but you can start with the basic structure. Now, I'll tell you a secret about this, okay? This plant is actually backward. it should have been this way, but as I twisted it up and whatnot, the branches, they came out this way, and so this is the way it's going to be as far as that goes. And why did I say that? Because this first arch comes out toward you, okay, toward the viewer. It should have been away, curving away from you first, and then up and out, okay? The little bit of way that's curving from you is not really curving from you. That arch is on the side, so still. And then this bow, when it was more squatty, it definitely was not appealing to me. So what I did was extend this up to soften that arch, to soften that curve, and actually to increase the distance between this lower part of the trunk and that, which diminished that curve in the trunk, and so it actually softened that. What I did also was bend this trunk a little bit more to lean this that way just a little bit more, which took a little bit more of that angle out. You know, you could think of it as a parabolic angle. You know, you're going on a curve and a slope, you know, in several directions at once. So, and also, again, when I mentioned your wiring it loosely, bend the wire, not the tree. As you're twisting your tree to put it in shape, don't think of it as you're twisting the tree, but twist the wire as you're bending it. This curve is not just bent over toward me, bent back, and then bent up. It is twisted also, kind of like a candy cane. You know, you remember the old barbershop pole? It had the little candy stripe going around it? It's twisting and curving, a parabolic angle or twist or movement, okay? And that saves your cambium. It saves you from breaking your tree in most cases, not all cases. And it gives you a softer and a nicer angle, okay? Now, as far as angle goes, if I had wrapped this with raffia, I could have been more severe with it. And so that would have been the front of the tree instead of that, okay? Why? Because I could have taken this angle when I came up here. I could have, if this was wrapped with raffia, I could have put that on here. I could have driven this branch pretty much back that way within a couple of inches. I've got almost 5 inches between there right now, okay? I could have reduced that another 2 to 2.5 inches at least, which would have given a different perspective. And then I could have bent this, and this is really pliable up here. I would have had raffia on it till probably in this area from down here, and I could double this over. Heavier wire under there to like a guy wire, if you will, okay? Instead of me wrapping that, I would have secured some wire, heavier wire than this, in a linear fashion along the trunk, okay? Wherever I could, you know, one consecutive wire. I would have secured that to that first with the raffia, covered it over with the raffia, then I would have wrapped my final wire with that. And what that does is give an extra measure of security to the trunk, so that when I bend it, I'm bending the wire, not the tree, okay? And it gives more stability to the tree itself. But anyway, this is okay. This is just a backyard kind of experiment. I'm a backyard kind of guy. No cops, no bonsai patrol. It works. So hopefully that helps you, gives you more insight on how to finish the crown of this. And by no means is this actually finished, okay? But it explains to you how to set this, rather than having that pointy top sticking straight up looking like a Christmas tree or whatever, when you want to try to create that bonsai image, okay? And another reason why I don't do the 1, 2, 3, you know, I want more foliage and whatnot, not to make this look so much like a Christmas tree, okay? Straight trunk or just an angle, you know, branch on this side, 4, 5, 6 inches up here, the next branch. But all of these branches, you know, gives the appearance of a full, healthy tree, you know. So anyway, that's it. Later.